for Wednesday, the 14th of February. I'm Stephen Ridgway. Pretty straightforward briefing today. It's a patching day. So let me see. Microsoft's rolled out patches for 73 flaws, including 2 zero-day attacks on the Windows operating system. The 0 days are CVE 2024-21351 with a CVSS score of 7.6. That one is a Windows Smart Screen security feature bypass vulnerability. And CVE 2024-21412 with a CVSS score of 8.1. Internet shortcut files security feature bypass vulnerability. So basically, as always, recommend to push out Microsoft patches sooner rather than later. Patch and be damned is not a bad approach. The article I'm going to link to is one from the Hacker News, which gives a little bit more details about some of these Microsoft patches, but it also at the end of the article has got a very nice comprehensive list of all sorts of other vendors who have released patches. Not necessarily today, but certainly over the last few weeks. There's a few well-known ones in there that we know about. ExpressVPN dealing with the DNS leaking issue. The usual round of things from Google, Google Chrome and so on and so forth. But there's a good long list there. If you want to have a look at that, I say you should want to have a look at that. If you are using any of those solutions, have a look, make sure, and keep yourself patched. As I say, it is, in my opinion, better to patch regularly and take the risk that something might break through patching. Obviously do stand-up testing and so on and so forth, but unless you're in particularly controlled environment, full regression testing of everything is probably introducing more of a risk by delaying the patching than applying the patching, keeping up to date, and then if something does go wrong, having the ability to roll back quickly because you know what you've patched. Of course, you wouldn't necessarily do that for life support systems on a hospital operating table or something, but you know what I mean. I am going to pick out though and mention Adobe, because Adobe has released security updates for multiple products. There's Adobe Commerce and Magento. I don't know what that one is. I've never used it. Substance 3D Painter, Acrobat and Reader. Okay. FrameMaker Publishing Server, Audition, and Substance 3D Designer have all got patches out at the moment. Recommended to obviously to check the versions that you're on and apply patches if need be. Acrobat and Acrobat Reader crop up pretty much everywhere, so that's the reason that I mentioned this. It is worth keeping on top of that. The article I have linked to this is from CISA, which is effectively America's cyber defense agency. So yeah, if they are recommending things, it is generally a good idea to follow them. Facebook Marketplace has suffered a data leak. Now the details around this is I don't think is particularly clear, but again there's a fairly decent article on the Bleeping Computer about this. It appears to relate to a breach from the autumn last year by a criminal that went under the names of, now how on earth you pronounce this is beyond me, Algoatson. Algoatson. Algoatson? I don't know. Anyway. So apparently, though, there are details of 200,000, or at least 200,000 entries in the user database. So the leaked data includes names, phone numbers, email addresses, Facebook IDs, Facebook profile information, and so on and so forth. No obvious indication that usernames and passwords have been compromised through this. Can't be certain. However, because phone numbers are in there, be aware that if you use mobile based 2FA, I can't speak today. If you use mobile based or SMS based 2FA, you are more likely to be subjected to a SIM swap attack. Now, as we talked about SIM swap attacks, well, certainly over the last couple of days, not something that the majority of people will ever come across. However, if you're seen as being an interesting target, it's definitely something that could be aimed at you. And given the fact that all sorts of people, from the most senior people in the biggest organizations right the way down to the likes of me, are liable to have Facebook IDs kicking around somewhere. And gaining access to accounts is generally considered to be an objective for threat actor groups for all sorts of reasons, maybe directly, financial stuff, or it may be that actually what they're trying to do is build up a credible impersonation of you so that they can phish your colleagues, those sorts of things. So watch out for this stuff. Hopefully, it may be time again to check your security settings in Facebook. I use Facebook very, very little these days, but one of the things I have noticed over the years is that every time you go through the let's make my account secure process, and you think you're okay, they then change a load of settings, rolls a load of stuff back to default, or bring in some other random defaults that basically allow them to nick your data and sell it at great prices for their own purposes. Various lot, Facebook. And finally from me today, the ALPHV, group are blackmailing a Canadian pipeline. So that's Trans-Northern Pipelines are a Canadian oil and gas concern. They operate about 530 miles of pipeline in Ontario and Quebec. Something like 200 miles of pipeline in Alberta. So they've got some pretty significant pipelines. It looks like it's an extortion type attack. So in order to get systems back, get data back, so on and so forth, pay them off. It is known that ALPHV have been associated with critical national infrastructure attacks in the past, and do have a bit of a track record for focusing on the energy sector. Lower Valley Energy security incident late last year in the US. They've attacked a Spanish electricity provider, and also Canada's Rush Energy. So why do I bring this to your attention? Well, firstly, it shows that this stuff is going on. If you do work in critical national infrastructure, be aware. You are seen as a good target for disruption or a good target for extortion. But also, just to raise an interesting point here, that over the years, I've come across certain industry verticals that have lagged behind the game a bit when it comes to understanding the risks, the cyber risks associated with their business. They have tended to be organizations where what they do is very physical, large scale manufacturing, those sorts of things, where the primary focus of the business is not online. It is interesting to see that energy companies and oil pipelines do appear to be in that category at the moment. Over the last year or so, I've had the opportunity to talk to people in a couple of pipeline organizations, and some smaller refineries, oil refineries, and so on, just as information gathering as much as anything else. But it is interesting to see that it is very clear to it's very clear to me that it's a sector which has got a long way to go when it comes to recognizing the potential for disruption to operations via cyber attack. So I don't know. It is difficult to say, to any particular organization, hey, look, your whole industry sector is at risk. But I think there's at the moment, I think it would be difficult to say that there's energy, oil, gas, that sort of thing. It's hard to say that we can be collectively confident that this stuff is being well looked after. So just really to get the conversation going, as much as anything else. If you've got friends, family, or whatever, or maybe you work in the oil and gas industry, and if you do and you think I'm wrong, well, maybe that I wouldn't. This isn't a comment aimed at any specific organisations, and I'm sure there are some organisations out there that are making a fantastic job of it. It seems that every time I stumble across somebody in those industry, cybersecurity would be a concern if I was a senior in that organisation. And we're looking here at evidence of that by these threat groups are actually doing and what they've succeeded in doing. Anyway, that's enough from me for today. Hope you have a good Wednesday, and I will speak to you all again tomorrow.